You will get a student level report that has all of the students' enrollment information. You get an aggregate report. It is going to show you the list of colleges that your students first attended by rank order. And lastly is a control report that just gives you a high level overview of the student file that you submitted and the outcomes. So here's an example of the control report. So this was an example of one we processed July 31st, and it came in with 253 students. And if you see right here, this is where we have the range of search dates. In this particular file, they had a range. They used search dates of 3/17 of 2000 through 6/1, 2018. But out of the 253, 91 had no response date. I mean, we did not find them. So we were able to match 162, and they're going to be included in the aggregate counts. But when you look at the detail report, you're going to see 117 individual students. One thing I will tell you, you will make yourself crazy if you try to reconcile this report against the detail report. It's best not to even try. Down here, we also give you a list of colleges that do not participate with the clearinghouse. And we know this because almost 28 years ago, every college in the country was entered into our database. So we have them in there and we're able to know if they do participate with the clearinghouse. So we're able to tell you which ones that don't. And this is important for a number of reasons, mostly because it says these are larger enrollment students, but they may be some that are close by an area where you serve, and you have a hypothesis that many students are going there. We can't confirm that for you because these colleges are not participating with the service. That's the control report. The aggregate report, which is meant to show you the students first attended. Okay, so in this example, you will see, remember the 162 we were able to include in the aggregate counts? 53 of those went to this Flint college. We give you their school code, what type, whether they're public or private, and then we give you the counts. And then over here, it's trying to help you understand more about what happened with that student, but then also to help you try to reconcile to the detail report. So what it's showing you is 53 students went to Flint, but if you try to find those 53 students on the detail report, it's going to be challenging because only 34 individual students can be returned. That's because 19 of those students have placed a block on their records. So again, this is showing you the top schools. It will count for all of 162 in this particular batch counts, and you'll see sometimes there are just one student attending. We will give you the entire list. I abbreviated this just for the sake of this report. So you'll see 162, 45 total students have blocks, which means at least 117 that you can verify on the detail report. This does then go further, and it's showing you of those students, how many actually got a degree from this institution, or how many got a degree from another. And we're seeing very few here, and that's not necessarily because the students did not achieve one. It could just be the timing. It could be that the majority of students in this batch have just started college, or maybe they're only in their second or third year, in which case we may not have a degree to return. So this is a really useful piece of information, again, to give you intel where they're going. How are they doing? Does this list change from different years, from batch to batch? At one of the conferences I went to, I was chatting with someone, and they were developing relationships with post-secondary about helping students understand what they needed to do in post-secondary so that they had the academic background to get into that college. So there was a good relationship between them, and it was relatively close to the organization serving area. But when they started looking at the intel from the first colleges attended, the students were not going there. Or for those students that did, there was a higher dropout rate. So the intel from that was that this person then went to talk to her contacts at the post-secondary, and they started working through what was happening. Why are these students completing? Could we try to brainstorm the reasons? And then they were starting to work on a plan to remedy that. So now I want to show you the detail report. So the detail report will return to you every student that you put in that file to send to us. There will always be at least one row. So here what you're seeing is the student's name. Here are the students. The last names are returned in your file. Here's the requester return field. If you would have put anything in that field, it would be displayed here. This column lets us know if the record found indicator was yes or no. So a way to easily analyze your data is put on a filter. And then you can found, who is not. If it's found, you're going to have some records that are returned here. I'm not going to do that just right now because I want to continue to show a couple of. If record found is yes, you're going to see this student. So we return information showing you the college. I don't know if he's male or female. So the college that we attended is here. It's telling you, is it a 4-year, 2-year, public or private? And it gives you one row for every enrollment term was enrolled. Here it's showing you the different enrollment statuses. L, F. L means less than half time. F is full time. Quarter time. If you see a W, it means the student withdrew. As I'm moving over, you then see the class level. This lets you know that the student is either a freshman, a sophomore, a junior, a senior, working on a higher degree. It's a valuable piece of information. So you can see here he was identified as a freshman, and the assumption is here that this might mean he is a sophomore. This column is going to tell you the student's major. If the college has reported it, we will return it to you. We do return the zip code that's associated to the major. And then if you scroll over here, this is says graduated, yes or no. So you can see whether we, based on the data we have, does this have a graduated record? Yes or no, and you can filter on that. And then this will tell you the date. And if you continue over, we're going to give you a degree title, a major, and their SIP, and it continues on. In this file, I believe we only had one who graduated, and in this case, did not yet have the degree data that we could return to you in this report. And one last thing I want to show you on the detail report. Okay, clear my filters. This last value that we return called college sequence, this will tell you for an individual student how many different colleges they enrolled in. So you will see here at least one student that has gone to 4 different colleges. So when I fill on that and I scroll over, I see it was Sam. So what I would do, again, being the nature of what you all do, you may know Sam personally. So you want to see where Sam has gone. And so it was Sam. So I'm going to this, and you can see Sam has gone to all of these. He went to Hill, to Glen, to Community, and that sequence tells you the order in which he did it. So he started at U, but didn't finish. We're not able to tell you why he did not finish. All we can tell you is that it looks like he only went there through, that he's only been enrolled through the summer. And if you look, these are showing older enrollment dates. He was going here first, and then he moved to transferred to the U. Record found indicator equals no. Record found indicator equals no means we cannot return any records in the detail report. More than likely, from that example that we just saw, the student does not have a record in the database. It could be because the search date. It is very possible that that student does have post-secondary records, but because the enrollment terms or the degree date are not after the search date, we will not return those. So hence you'll see record found no. It could be because the student was not able to match because it didn't meet the matching threshold. We have a research center and some very, very smart people who worked on the matching algorithm, and they know statistics and they know data and they know probability. So they have the sophisticated algorithm that will go out, and it's very possible there could be, I'm going to use Brad, for example, Brad Hill. There could be several Brad Hills, but maybe only a small handful of Brad R. Hill with his date of birth. But if we go through that algorithm and it's just such that something just doesn't seem quite right, maybe we have more than one Brad Hill with the same date of birth, we're not comfortable returning that record. Or if there is someone that is in our database that maybe there's a different middle initial, or it seems like we might have a match, but there's some spelling errors, and the spelling errors are such that we're not confident it's the same student, we are not going to return that record. We are going to err on the side of caution. And the FERPA, we will not return a record when the student is placed to FERPA block. The record found indicator will be no. We cannot distinguish that a student has a FERPA block between any of these other reasons. Per our lawyer's interpretation, even telling you that the student has a FERPA block is in violation. But if a FERPA block is on there, we cannot release the records, nor can we tell you. Now, this is where it gets a little tricky too. It is possible that a student places a block on only a set of records from one institution, not from all of them. So if that's the case, we will return to you the records that are not blocked. And it may look like there's a gap in the student's enrollment. And you may say, well, Clearinghouse, why aren't you returning these records? We can only give you, again, these reasons up here. We cannot tell you that, oh, yes, there's a gap because the student has a block. If you are interested in learning more, I do have the website here. Here are the email addresses. For customer service and file-oriented questions directly into StudentTracker,